who is not able to attend today. Yeah, that's gone. Recording has started. So, once again, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Karen Hedrick is unable to join us at this time, so I'll be hosting the session today. I want to keep the introduction very brief, but I have great pleasure in introducing Dr. Nicole L'Etoile, our speaker for today. Nicole is a CPAC qualified accessibility consultant. She specializes in online learning, um, learning management systems, and e-learning as well. And she has a background in instructional design and accessibility. That's a deadly combination. And Nicole specializes in design and delivery of inclusive learning experiences. And she makes sure that those experiences meet the WCAG and UDL standards and principles. It's very nice that Nicole runs an online course, actually, and I hope she speaks about that in her talk. And this course is meant to train educators and organizations to create content that works for every learner. And that, is D2L's motto as well, reach every learner. So we are fortunate to learn from Nicole today. With that, I'll pass it on to you, Nicole, and you can share screen and start your. And all of you can feel free to interact either through the chat or open your mic and talk. And I'll be following the chat and I'll get the questions to Nicole at the appropriate time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I really appreciate you being here. It was very short notice. I believe I was invited on Friday and was just really excited that I had the opportunity to come and share my work with you and around the course and the work that that we're doing, as well as it just got me organized. So I needed time to go through and look at some of the work that we've been doing. You know how that goes. You're constantly moving forward, and we never really give ourselves enough time to kind of look back and reflect. And so this was kind of a win-win situation. I got organized. Just to give you some background, I'll try to do the cliff notes of why I'm in front of you today and how I got here in this seat. I was a K-12 business and computer science educator for 12 years. And I have taught in the US in multiple states. I'm originally from New York. I taught there, I taught in Texas, and now I was in Rhode Island where I'm based. I taught here for a few years. So being a computer science and web design teacher, of course, I always was in a computer room and technology educator, and that just has always been a foundation of mine. I had moved on to be a school principal and was in an administrator role for about 5 years, 6 years, before I moved into professional development and then started working with organizations from a learning management system perspective and an instructional design. So this is my 24th year in my career. So those are the overview and the cliff notes of how I got here today. And the course, Making Online Content Accessible for All, Designing for Access, building a course with WCAG, UDL, and lived experience at the center was born about a year ago. It took me almost 6 months, I'd say, maybe longer, to develop it over the time. But it came out of a place of, as the instructional designer and an LMS administrator, recognizing that our instructional designers, myself included, needed support around the standards and around design so that we could come from it from the start and not at the end. And as one of my jobs in my role was to check the courses, if you've been in this position as the quality assurance person at the end, to go through your checklist, to check for accessibility. I didn't want that to happen for the team. I didn't want that to happen for myself. So I have been on a mission to bridge that gap. So so that's the background. And so I'll walk you through the course. Please at any time stop me and ask questions. I really would love this to be conversational, or put it in the chat. There are 3 key areas that I'm going to talk about. So in the slides on slide 2, I'm going to talk about design, delivery, and continuous improvement. And so, and the importance being that designing with accessibility from the start ensured that this course was not just inclusive in theory, but usable and accessible in practice. The folks that were taking this course were a mix of, I had folks from higher ed, from K-12, from corporate, other consultants that do digital content and instructional design work. And so it was very important that it was not only built to teach accessibility, but it was accessible. And I'll talk more about why that is important as I go along. But the course was 6 weeks long. I run it 3 times a year. I also do these as personalized trainings for teams per the request. There is an image document that I'll share as well that will describe all the screenshots that I share in this presentation today. And so on the screen, there's an image of our last cohort, myself and some of the cohort members smiling. That was session 1. I should have took a photo at session 6. That would have been a good comparison just to see the expressions. But yeah, so this is our group from the last cohort. Not everyone's here, but they're all there. Most of them are there. So the presentation notes, all links will open in a new tab, and this also providing you an image description document has been provided. So as I go through certain slides, I'll point out that there's a screenshot, and I just want to be mindful that if you need or want a more detailed description, that you can access that. And I've numbered the slides. Dr. Sam?
So I just wanted to mention, I forgot to mention earlier, I have thrown into this chat the links to the deck that's Dr. Nicole is using and the folder that she mentioned. And I'll keep repeating those links in the chat for people who joined later. I missed mentioning that, but I thought that's very important because you're referring to that. That's why.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes. And so inside that folder is all the link, the image description document corresponding to the current slide with more description. And I also wanted to let you know that this presentation was created with Venngage, and so the PDF is fully accessible and tagged appropriately using the checks and the manual. So I also provided a PowerPoint slide deck as well. Okay, so slide 4, of course, we have to share a learner highlight. This is Laura LaMonica. She's an instructional system specialist. And so I would love to have more voices in the room, so we're not just hearing mine and Dr. Sam. Would someone like to volunteer and read Laura's feedback? Jeff, your hand's up. Is that a question?
Yeah, I'm actually listening on my phone. I'm wondering, can someone email out the links to the group by chance for those on other devices? Is that possible? If not, I can grab them.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head, yes. But yes, of course, we can certainly get those out. Absolutely.
Okay, that would be great. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. Would anyone love to join in and volunteer and read the learner highlight from Laura? I'll practice my wait time.
I wouldn't mind.
Thanks, Stacey.
This is Stacy. I'm tuning in from St. John's in Canada.
Welcome.
Okay, so Laura LaMonica, an instructional systems specialist, her learner highlight about what her favorite part about the course was that she really loved the format of the course in Brightspace. She said the course itself was such a terrific example to me as an instructional designer. That's my role too, by the way, of how to present content in a simple, engaging, and accessible way. There is so much emphasis and pressure to create engaging content in e-learning, and usually that translates into bells and whistles and often into something less than accessible. I loved the white space, the short, interesting videos, the alternative ways to engage the content and the assignments, the smart, engaging ways of using simple interactions like tabs and accordions. It is just brilliant design.
Thank you so much, Stacy. So of course we wanted to hear from a learner, and those are her words that she shared in feedback. Just of course to the Brightspace design that we were able to accommodate and get to what was her highlight. So designing the course. When we refer to universal design for learning, we think about the 3 prongs. Typically, we look at representation, engagement, and expression, and offering multiple ways for folks to have that participation or entry. And so intentionally embedding the web content accessibility guidelines and the universal design principles from the start inside the course, because the course is teaching these things. So I love a meta experience. I love to not only teach it, but also model it so that the students are also, as they're learning to design their own content, they're also seeing it in action. And so for representation today, I'll share what was used. We have text, video, transcripts, some live demos, different types of podcast, document briefs with mind maps. So lots of different ways to represent the content. The engagement, learners are presented with a choice. They get to choose what they're going to focus in on as they're learning the web content accessibility guidelines and how to apply UDL. And then we had guest speakers and we had peer learning activities in our live sessions. And then for expression, there is peer feedback and weekly and final project submission format options. So I'm going to get into all three of these today. So for representation, there are multiple ways to perceive, right? So we can also refer to perceivable in the web content accessibility guidelines here, perception, language and symbols, building knowledge. And on my screen, I'm sharing screenshot number 1, which is taken from the course. And this is titled Common Barriers to Accessibility in Digital Learning Environments. And I provided the learners with an article featured by Dr. Susie Grossens, PhD, University of Houston College Education. And this article blends and discusses how to connect the content, the web content accessibility, perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust, and how it works with UDL and an overlap. It's really difficult I've always found it difficult to find the research that puts these two together. So this article does a really nice job of that. And what I wanted to do, and you'll see in the bright space in the screenshot, was not only have students reading the article, but I presented and modeled for them the UDL principles. So they have the ability they have options to read or listen. And they have multiple ways to read, and they could either read the PDF as is, they could maybe read a briefing document. So I took the article, I used Google Notebook LM and created a briefing doc that highlighted all the key pieces to that article that would be helpful and provided them if they'd like to read this. And then I also gave them Speechify text-to-speech voice reader, as well as a podcast version that I used through Google with a transcript. I have in the course, the current cohort had 2 learners who are blind, and one was an NVDA user and one was a JAWS reader. So they would then give feedback to me as well during this section that they would choose to either use the screen reader or stop and listen to the podcast. So providing multiple ways for perceiving that information was super important to model this for all learners and give options. So I'm moving through my slides. I'm on slide 7. So starting with the screenshots. So I'm in slide 7, which is screenshot, understanding the models of disability. Why do we start the course with theoretical models is on the left-hand side. And that is a screenshot from week 1 where we introduce, it's an introduction to disability models, an introduction to disability and assistive technology. And if you see on the page, I was able to provide them using proper semantic heading, H1 and H2, to outline the content, as well as provide a little bit more in-depth look at models. If you wanted to access the book, I provided a link first for the book Demystifying Disability by the author Emily Ledoux. And then I have a YouTube video. This is an excellent video, Human Rights Model of Disability, featuring Ellie the Equality Emu. And then I provided a transcript underneath it. Using the Brightspace Click and Reveal, which is a Creator Plus tool, I was able to put the transcript right underneath the video so that the learner would not need to leave outside the platform and could access it right there. And drop down open up the transcript, read the transcript, close the transcript. So again, perceiving the information in different ways, modeling UDL, also practicing and modeling proper semantic HTML to meet the WCAG standards. And then on the right side, I have more screenshots. I have the disability types of disability models in the the elements tab, not an accordion. Accordions go down. So tabbing over. And so the learners are able to flip through and read about the models after watching the video. And then also wanted to provide the different elements that the Creator Plus tools allow. So this was to Laura's highlight that she really appreciated using these simple elements to design without overly being flashy. So the tools that I used, elements that I used in the course were the accordion, the tabs, the click and reveal, the call out, flip cards, and carousel. I did identify which ones were screen reader compatible with screen reader users to make sure that they could access these, and they were able to provide some feedback as well. I'm on slide 8 with additional screenshots. So there are 2 screenshots, Introduction to WCAG 2.2 Guidelines, and then Assistive Technology. Again, demonstrating here that with the Creator Plus tabs that I was able to provide a little bit more information without overloading, cognitive overload on the page, demonstrating and modeling the WCAG understanding principles where they were able to get a little bit of text, then close those panels if they prefer, watch a video on the content that's walking through how to understand the accessibility guidelines. So they had video, they had text, they had a transcript. And then on the other screenshot for assistive technology, as an introduction, I used the flip cards here, where if you were to flip over the card, you could identify the different types of assistive technology that would support a particular disability category. So there was, again, some engagement, light on the ability to light on when we talk about being overly flashy or not accessible, but also provided multiple means. And then on slide 9, again, with the screenshots, perceivable content. This one had a lot of text heavy on the page. So right in the middle of the page, after going through perceivable content and identifying the standards, guidelines 1.1, 1.2, I paused and used the Brightspace audio tool here to insert my voice talking and giving examples about time-based media and accessibility, to put that into a little plain language for the learners. And that was able to provide, and I put a note to view the transcript, select the gear icon in the bottom right corner of the file. You could also use the captions. So modeling the guidelines in the tool, as well as breaking that up a bit and providing other ways to represent and perceive the information. And then on the flip side of that screen, on slide 9 is another screenshot, understanding operable principle. Same apply here. I use the tab panel, and then at the bottom of that one underneath with a testing keyboard navigation video, similar format, but just chunked it out a bit here. So I'm about to come to a close on the part of the design with representation. So I would love to pause and see if there are questions or comments at this point.
Yes, Nicole, I wanted to ask you a question. If, for example, how about, what is the criteria on piling up methods? For example, if you know that your presentation or what you design on Brightspace is readable through a screen reader, do you need to add, for example, an oral explanation of what is in there on top of the fact that you know is readable with the screen reader? Is it a good idea to use both methods in one in one presentation, or when you know that is readable through a screen reader, you can say, okay, that's it, I did my job?
Is it okay for me to just jump in?
Yes, please. I would appreciate that. Sure.
Because so Hakeem,
Yes.
people who come in to learn, they can have multiple constraints or they can have different constraints. So one person may be not able to see the screen and they might be using a screen reader. another person might be having difficulties comprehending written text, and
Okay.
they might need an audio supplement. They might be able to see, but still need that audio. So there are different people coming with different requirements. The person who can see and needs audio will not be using that tool called screen reader. So it's always good to have an audio along with, um, always good to have audio, period. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm
Perfect. I
also
understand.
I'm appreciative of Nicole. Usually when we do UDL, people forget to make it accessible. In the sense, UDL says you have to give different formats. And in each of those formats, the content needs to be accessible. That is forgotten or that is ignored if the person who's teaching doesn't know about accessibility. As well, when we say you should use multiple representation, some instructors might just, okay, I have one video in my course. This particular lesson is a video, and then this something else is audio. No, for each topic, you have to have multiple ways of consuming it.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm
Very much.
stopping my audio here. Apologies, Nicole.
No, that was wonderfully explained. Thank you. You said it perfectly. Thank you. Jean?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
My question is, this is all great from the student point of view, but looking at it from the instructor or the teacher point of view, what tools, you named several tools in your presentation. Do you have any idea about accessibility of those creation tools? Like, so I, as a blind professor, how much of this, or maybe all of it, can I do myself, potentially anyway, if I if I ever have the time? And so what is the accessibility, usability with a screen reader of these creation tools?
That's such a great question. One of the students, a learner in the course, and you'll see he's referenced later on, his name is Jacob, is an instructional designer and he's blind. And he was able to participate, right, from the learner perspective. But he's also now a colleague. He's working with me. He's subcontracting. I've hired him to work on a project where we'll be auditing a learning management system, creating courses together, accessibility courses. So, and I would say from his perspective, he was able to take everything that was provided and use it in his own creation. And he also shared that that was what he loved about Brightspace, was that he could design in it. So the tools that I used within Brightspace, the Creator Plus tools that are embedded, he is able to create with. The Google LM Notebook, he is also using that tool as well. So that's what I use to generate the podcast, the briefing notes, and other versions. And I can't recall if I mentioned other tools or resources beyond that at this time. Was there something specific, Jean, that you thought was interesting that I said that I could speak directly to?
No, I would need to go back and listen to the recording to be able
Okay.
to pick those out. But it seemed like there were lots of components to this. And so my question was that just how doable this is with a screen reader.
Yeah. So so I can't speak for all. I can't speak for everyone. But I could speak to the experience that the learner in my course and how he's been able to translate and transfer these skills, if that's helpful.
It is. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. You're welcome. And it like I said, it took time to do this, right? So this was not an easy lift at all, by all means, in terms of putting this together. It was my family did not see me a lot through the holidays, so we'll just say that I was very busy designing. anyway, so we have the engagement section. So I'll move on a bit, and then you can always pause and stop me here so we can, I really would love to share some of the delivery. I have some clips for you from our live sessions so you can hear participants talking. So it's not just me, and I'd love to get to those as well. So for the engagement, there were multiple ways to participate. So of course, you know, in Brightspace, we have discussion forums, we have ways for students to submit assignments, provide feedback and journal. So one of the opportunities I wanted to do with multiple ways to participate was first in week one was to bring in everyone's perspective, bring in their experiences, their interests, their identities, sustain that effort and persistence over 6 weeks. You'll see that we created some personas at later on with some of our research, and some were beginners, some were intermediate, and some were advanced. And for a beginner person, we really want to be able to make sure that we could sustain that effort and persistence so that at the end of 6 weeks, they were able to complete the final project, which was to audit their own material, their own learning instructional design projects, and then be able to revise them. So it was a heavy lift. So the learners did benefit from flexible pacing and the ability to express understanding through the hands-on projects. There was scaffolded to reduce cognitive load, and then there were variety accessibility experience levels. And so this is a screenshot on slide 10. What does accessibility mean to you? And why does it matter? And there were prompts to think about over time when they've either encountered a barrier or in their personal professional life, they've seen these opportunities to improve accessibility, share thoughts, respond to a peer. And so that was in the early stages where our learners were able to bring in their own experiences and start to understand which perspectives were coming into the course. And so for continuing with engagement, I'm on slide 11. There are 2 screenshots. We have user stories and a journal reflection. So the W3C has these really wonderful user stories that you can access. And this one is about Lexi, and Lexi is colorblind. And so we learn about Lexi's online experience. We were able to look at some of the design features that were helpful through web content accessibility guidelines. That would be design tips that would help for someone who had colorblind not to rely on color alone, to make sure that we use icons and symbols along with labels. And so looking at these design features and then posting and responding to a user experience and bringing on their own experiences. And then journal reflections. And that was an opportunity at the end of each module for them to reflect and submit that. That was shared with myself. That was more of a private reflection, not necessarily a group discussion. And they could submit that in any way. They could submit it in text. They could submit video. They could submit a piece of their work. So they had the ability and the choice to be able to submit a journal reflection through assignments in Brightspace that were flexible and gave them choice. So I'll move on to action and expression, the third component of UDL. And so that would be expressing and communicating, strategy development, and interaction. And this comes back to the learners being able to select. So at the beginning of the course, again, 6 weeks, learners will select the piece of digital content that they want to work on over the course of time, that they're also reviewing, they're auditing, and they're fixing. So every module, we would go through week 2 was perceivable, week 3 was operable, 4 understandable, and 5 robust. When we got to week 2, they could do a mini, what I called the mini audit. They would look at just perceivable. They would look to make sure that they had good color contrast, that they had captions and transcripts, that they were using alt text. And we did this at a very deeper level than what I'm describing, but they would go through a mini audit of their content. I taught them the W3C auditing process with making sure they have title pages and executive summaries, and just kind of really just got into depth on how to do that. And then they could submit it any way they liked. They could submit a recording, they could submit the write-up, they could reflect with the submission. So wanted to provide multiple ways for them to express and communicate their learning, and making sure that they had access to that. So delivering the course. So this, as I said, we had the Zoom sessions once a week We also have, I have a Slack channel set up where learners were able to connect throughout beyond Brightspace or our live sessions. And that is also going on right now. I have a accessibility learning and development Slack community. We have 700 plus of us in there, and we are exchanging ideas and resources and sharing events. And we'll make sure I get you that if you wanted to join us. But there, we continued conversations there, and that also helps with the continuation beyond once the course ends. So the important piece to this was the interaction, that it was scaffolded and that there was peer learning, and that we would do breakouts and I'd present scenarios, or they would bring their own scenario. They'd work together in their teams, and they would identify a standard. They would identify a web content accessibility standard. They would apply it. They would work on fixing that and coming up with design choices. It was important for scaffolding that I would each week do a little demo of what to look for, and then they would be able to work on it. Kind of that model, if you're familiar with the I do, we do, you do. So I would use that chunk model of I would demo, then we would do it together, and then they would do it on their own asynchronous. And so then we also would then go into, making sure that they could apply it. So I would love to share some, with respect to the cohort, I'm only going to play some clips, and I'm not sharing the whole video. These recordings I keep unlisted and private for ourselves, but I have permission to play you a short clip. And so one of the key insights from feedback was that it was super helpful to hear the lived experience and gain a deeper understanding of how screen reader user interacts with the content. And as I mentioned, we had 2 learners who are blind, and we had a JAWS user and an MVDA user, and they asked if they could share and demo. And so this is what you're going to see, some of that. And they're also, I'm going to show you some content. So I'm going to switch over from my slides, and let me just find my mouse. This was session 5 of week 6, and I'm on slide 14 if you do follow along. And I move over to, so the first clip I have is I'm presenting them a question that they'll go into their breakout room. And I have my sound on. Please let me know if you cannot hear this. Question for you tonight. I have a question for you to think about, to connect and debrief with each other. Is that sound coming through? Yes, thumbs up. Thank you.
I could hear that. And
Yes, it is.
captions as well.
Great, and captions are good. I'd like you to think back to how you approached accessibility and inclusive design at the start of this course. What has changed in your mindset, your design practice over the last 5 weeks, and what specific actions or decisions have reflected that growth? So when you share with your partner, I'd like you not only to share kind of a reflection, but if you could identify or connect it to something specific that you've either an action you've taken or a decision that you've made recently based on your conversations or course content, that would be great. And then when we return, Chris will start the demo. We'll leave time for questions. Jacob will demo, leave time for questions, and then go. Okay, so then they're going to go into their breakout rooms, and then I'm going to move over to a second clip where they return to share their conversation. You are all back. Popped right back in. Hello, hello, hello. Hi there. I heard your screen reader was on too. Is it still on? Hi.
I think we're
All
back.
right. You are back.
Nice screen reader. It just took over. It started live on its own. I'm not really controlling it right now.
Is that NVDA? Which one is it?
Sounds like it. Yeah. Yeah. She said thumbs up. She said thumbs up. I said
So
the robot.
insert Q quits
Insert Q.
if you're trying to get rid of it.
She's doing it now. I can see her. The aha, like, oh, it worked.
And the
Head shaking, yes.
And control is stop talking. That came up in the breakout.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't worked yet. So am I pressing at the same time?
Yes.
If you press
Yes.
control, it'll stop. If you press control, it'll stop talking.
But if you want to unload, if you want to get rid of NVDA, like just unload it, it's NVDA and Q. You hold one you hold down insert
Uh-huh.
if you're using insert as the NVDA key and press the letter Q.
Exit NVDA
There you
dialog.
go.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, fantastic. Before you begin the demo, would anyone like to share anything that came from the conversation in terms of anything stand out from a mindset or a shift recently that you could connect it to?
Well, Laurie and I were talking that, the course has been really effective in the sense that it generally caused that mindset, shift, that we started noticing things that we had not before. And those, accessibility to issues, to me before they were, transparent, I was not really noticing them, but now I'm very aware.
And now you have a group of people that when you see it and you need to say something, you can trust that it's good to say it, like to speak up, and yeah, so you'll see it a lot. Thank you. Is there anything specific that came up recently that you saw? Was it? So I'll stop here. Each participant shared a little bit about their work, related it to their current projects. One of the participants, Jamie, is going to talk about how she's working in a ed tech company that supports K-12 reading and ELA materials, and that she was noticing things in the content in terms of semantic HTML headings or the way things were structured, how they could be improved. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to share that with you. And come back to the presentation. So I'll keep us going, and then I'll pause again for questions. I want to come back here. Hold on, full screen. All right, so I'm moving on to slide 15. So on slide 15, I'm talking about the scaffolding. Again, back to the reform mini audits, one draft with feedback. And what the audit was is that, like I said, every week they were reviewing and auditing their own material, but instead of making it wait to the end, if we were talking and learning about perceivable and within the UDL practices how to perceive information, we would pause and they would apply and they would review and then put that aside, and then we would do the next one, operable, understandable, and robust, as opposed to waiting to the end to do all of it. So it was chunked out and scaffolded. With one in week 5, they could submit it to me. I would review, I'd give feedback, and then in week 6, they would do the final project. So there's a screenshot on slide 15 that shows you what the final project entailed. It had manual evaluation. It also learned about automated tools and remediation. They could provide a detailed report. They could do a presentation, or they could also provide a reflection. So they had a choice in that final project and what it looked like. Again, the peer learning, things that we did in the live sessions, as you saw, they would go into breakout rooms. Other times I would provide them with real scenarios, or we would look at an e-learning or a course, and they would have to discuss one of the barriers that they might have seen, or that could be an issue, suggest a strategy or design feature, and then they would align it to the criteria in their small groups and come back and present on that. And you can see a key insight from a learner that was shared in feedback. It wasn't just about learning accessibility, it was about doing it together and learning from others' mistakes and successes along the way. And now we're in the final part of the presentation, and it's feedback and research. So the woman you heard speaking, Carolina, in that video when she came back from the breakout room and was turning on and off her screen reader. She also helped, I want to give her some credit. She helped me compile some research. And so through that research that we compiled together, I developed with her personas. So I would love to share those personas with you. And those insights were drawn from, we did interviews, there were survey responses, and of course it's biased. We didn't have a third party person doing that. So there's certainly, we had to make sure that we didn't bring in too much of our bias during that collection. But I do want to make sure that it's acknowledged that it was both of us doing that research together. She's a UX researcher. And then there was a feedback loop, and I was making the adjustments as we were going, and then making those adjustments for the next cohort, which starts in July. So we have survey results, and we have data categories we looked at. How is the coaching and feedback? I'm on slide 18 now. How are the course materials? What were the activities, peer interaction, live workshops? We asked folks to rate that. We wanted to know if it was relevant, if it had was able to be applied, was it accessible? And so we had 100% rated on all of these interactions. And that was from cohort 1 and cohort 2. So this course first started back in January of this year. And so we've had about 30 people go through it. So we asked everybody to participate. And I also provided a chart, it's more for just more decorative, but it's showing you coaching and feedback, course materials, action, activities, peer interaction, and live workshops, that there was a perfect score for a rating of 5 being quality and 0 being not quality, and in all categories came out at a 5. So user experience, there were options to create multiple entry points, having the Slack channel, having the discussions, having the Zoom sessions. I think we all can experience this. These exist a lot in courses as instructors, but as you can see from the YouTube video, creating that during our live sessions, the community, I think, is what allowed the Slack discussions to continue, what kept the discussions in the forums enriched, and they shared resources with each other without having built up safety and community. I do not think that those things would have been possible. And it wasn't my doing alone. It's all the cohort folks, everyone who participates contributes to building that community. And so on slide 20, more about the user experience. So learners appreciated having the materials. I always gave them the slides at least 2 hours before our live session. I would give them templates to choose for every project, so they had to be able to customize it, and that they scored the hands-on activities as an average of 4.75 out of 5 for hands-on activities. So you'll see when I get to the areas of improvement, because we're always continuously improving, what I'll be working on to make things better for the next group. So slide 21, again, they really appreciated weekly mini audits. They expressed through written responses, peer sharing, live discussions, that they did like the mirroring and having flexible. And several participants said that the structure, but you'll see that I have some things to improve upon when it comes to structure. We'll get there. So here are the learner personas. We have 5, and then of course I love things in 3s, and I needed to equal out my slide, so I put a 6th one in there, which was myself. So I put in the learner personas. We have the guided collaborator, we have the newcomer needing support, and we have the tech savvy peer learner. And what we decided to do was look at this from the guided collaborator. What did they prefer? What did they value? And then what we would want to do to meet their needs going forward. So the guided collaborator valued real-time interaction and guided instruction. They really prefer to have a schedule. They liked the structured pacing, that each week would be revealed. I didn't give them all 6 weeks all at once. They'd get, they had always had access to the final week, so they could see where we were going in the final project. That was always there. Week 6 was always available, but I would reveal one at a time so that we could stay together. And they appreciated that. And then they said that they would benefit from more maybe check-ins and more deeper instructor-led activities, which I'll get to. The newcomer needed support, more beginner, was overwhelmed initially, but did appreciate a step-by-step modeling, concrete examples, and became more confident. So you'll see feedback. We needed to do more of what was called now a module 0. So due to the newcomer needing support persona, I have, for the July cohort, I have a new beginners meetup for folks that would like to get a head start. And then we also need to add a glossary of terms. I will be working on that in a week's time. We have advanced, prioritize accessible platforms and collaborative learning. Seamless user experience and opportunities for reflection was super important to the tech-savvy peer learner, and to make sure that they are invited in co-creating activities. And this is where I ended up hiring the tech-savvy peer learner to work on a project with me afterwards. So we are co-creating together. The applied practitioner, I'm on slide 23, was advanced, and this applied practitioner wants to apply it in meaningful ways, wanted it to be relevant, so really prefers clear course flow and access to deeper dives, such as case studies and more external resources, offers optional extensions, and could customize their work. We had the busy professional, immediate to advance, balances professional with her learning goals, and values community, prefers asynchronous and self-paced options, would watch the recordings, didn't always attend the live sessions, and must have flexible deadlines and able to refer to the content later on. And then I added, again, the third one, which I called the reflective practitioner, sorry, the third one on this slide, evolving expert, always actively trying to improve practice with learner feedback. And that I prefer, I'll say I because it's me on the screen, transparent dialogue and space to refine what's working and what's not, model ongoing learning, and adapt in real time. So continuous improving, I have work to do. I need to make sure that it's more clear up front that that it may take, I think initially I had said we would put in maybe 3 to 5 hours per week. Learners shared it was more like 5 hours per week with the live session. So being more upfront about the time commitment, it could be 5 to 7 hours. That an additional week 0 orientation around the guidelines would be appreciated and needed and preferred. And then also modeling the mini audits more in depth, like doing my own, showing folks how I would audit each week, and doing a longer demo. So those are the 3 areas that will be improved upon. And here's the impact and my last and final point to make. Thank you all so much for listening to me talk today. That the participants just didn't learn about accessibility. They experienced it, they applied it. There was increased confidence, and that it helped bridge the gap between the knowing and the doing, and they left with the tools and the mindset. And so in closing, of course, if you'd love to continue this conversation, follow and connect. You have my email here on slide 26, my LinkedIn profile, and my website. We have a growing community of learning and development professionals who are committed to doing better now that we know better. And so we're always open to having more join us. So thank you. Questions? Comments? And some references. I'll stop my share.
I would say everyone's speechless.
Could you please share the Slack? Yes, of course, Melody.
Yeah, the Slack channel is really worth joining for that continuous conversation. I learned a lot today, Nicole.
Well, I always learn a lot when we talk, so it's mutual. Thank you. I appreciate that. We have a question about carrots. The downward pointing arrows to indicate submenus. I'm not sure I'm following.
So it's for expanding or collapsing, I think, the submenus.
Like the inside those accordions is I'm not sure I'm following the question. I feel I'm sorry. So caret triangle symbol in referring to when we have the drop downs and like the accordions. Show hide. Oh, so like the click and reveals. Show hide, I think that's what click and reveal. And the question being, should the image be on the right or left of the text? That's a good question. I don't know I would put it on the right. Sorry, I feel like that's not very definite. Dr. Sam, are you following these?
Yeah, I'm looking at it and I'm also trying to grapple with it. I'm trying to quickly go and get an example. Like, suppose there are four, like perceivable, operable, understandable, robust, and then you have a plus sign after each. And then accordion is what comes to my mind immediately. Like click and reveal, like you said. You click on that symbol and then more text gets opened up and revealed about perceivable, about operable. Sometimes you can say show all, hide all, that kind of thing. Sometimes you have a plus sign after. The question, I think, is whether to use a plus sign, or that's another person's suggestion, but whether to use a symbol after or before. I would say intuitively it should be after, like it's to the right of the text, but would there be any reason why it should be to the left of the text? I was just trying to go grab some example, but anybody who has any thoughts?
I agree with Nancy here. Consistency is important
Right.
for sure.
Regardless of what you do, you should be consistent. Right. I'm trying to get an example of accordions now.
I'm pulling up the course now. So in the accordion, the carets to the right, right? So for screen reader, access consistency is essential. Yes, for sure. And apples get the caret on the right. Yeah, I was going to say I mean, my instinct is right. I don't know, only because we read
I'm just showing on the screen our mission, our values, our inclusive design product process. You have a kind of a triangle there, right side pointing. You reveal and you hide. So it makes sense to have it to the right of the text, but I'm not sure about the left.
Just on this example too that you were just showing, Sam?
Yeah.
The navigation pane on the left, though, has the carets on the left side.
Oh, wait. Oh, let's discuss then.
Oh.
So our differentiators.
Indeed.
So the menu side, ADA title regulations, all of those carets are on the left of the words versus the right of the words.
Indeed.
Didn't notice.
Yes. Yeah. Here it makes sense to have it on the left.
Right. For menu navigation, I see it on the left, but then the content piece makes sense on the right. And it's throughout all of D2L, at least in this universal design, that's the different block areas, if you will. Keep it consistent.
So for a reason, the left side is on the left because traditionally we've had those menus in file systems, opening up and closing with those pluses and minuses on the left side. That makes sense. And on the right as well, right, I'm torn between having it on. This is a good thing to take back to our Creative Plus people to find out like what's behind this decision. Is anybody in the audience still not getting what the question was? So there are some symbols using which you can expand and collapse to show more and less. So on the right side, as I'm clicking right now, in the place where we add content, in D2L, especially when you use create content with Create a Plus, that symbol is to the right, extreme right. And traditionally, when we use menus, which is on the left side, where modules are opened up to reveal the lessons or units, there it's on the left side. In the same page, you have two different ways, and we are trying to rationalize that when it comes to menus, it should be on the left, and when it comes to content, it should be on the right.
And sorry, I'm going to chime in again. This is Judy.
Yeah.
Looks like the question possibly was, what is the standard? Is it, in this case, D2L uses the caret or the triangle, or is the standard to use plus and minus? Is there a universal design? What is the standard? Because in a number of other applications, I do see pluses and minuses, like our file structure folders.
Even within D2L, you will see pluses and minuses. In system contexts, you see pluses and minuses. This is a specific authoring tool, but this is a great question and a great follow-up contributions on that. Something we need to take back and see the reason why these things are like this. And is there something like an overriding good principle that needs to be followed, or are there good principles for each different situation? We are like 2 minutes to closing. If there's anything else that anybody else wants to bring up, they're most welcome. So there's more going on in this chat, but we'll be sharing the chat as well along with the recording. So please continue to contribute in the chat. And meanwhile, I will extend my heartfelt thanks to Nicole. This was really, really useful. Like I said, with all my years and years of teaching and meddling with accessibility, I saw a lot of value in how you structured your course as well as the presentation. I was a little bit worried that you were showing images of text. Per rule, it's actually not the good thing to do, but you compensated enough by providing that extra document with all the clear explanations of what is actually meant to be taken. It's not to be read word by word. There's a meaning why you put that image over there. As well, the way you proceeded through the deck, calling out the slide number every time and speaking out clearly to what's there on the slide, I would forget. I would start with all the good intention, but I would forget halfway through. So that was really well done, and really living that example, modeling it to the students. I think that's the best you could do in teaching. Thank you very much.
Well, it was my pleasure, and appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone here. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We'll share out everything as usual. Yeah.
And thanks everybody for coming.
Yay, Karen, you made it.
I just snuck in. We were talking about accordions and triangles and things. I just got here.
Okay.
That was a good question. It made me think. I had it. That was a good good follow-up. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Absolutely.
That was a very high compliment, Dr. Sam, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
It was heartfelt, sincerely. Yeah. Karen knows how I start with describing slides, and halfway through, I would like wander off. He's a witness to that.
Oh, I think it's awesome that you have all the alt text and then that's
Yeah, you need
freaking
to have
amazing.
multiple parts of your brain following those multiple threads, right? One to keep saying the slide number, one to keep describing, one to keep track of what you want to say. And even in terms of UDL and using modern tools, there's a lot. I need to sit and watch the video again and parse through that and like make a list too. Like
Yeah, I was thinking about how like I have to work because I could lose track. So I think it's almost like I work doubly harder to stay on track because I feel like if you allow, like I am squirrel, like if like I look at, I'll be like squirrel, like I'll jump pretty quickly. So I think it's like a benefit of my preferences on top of it too. And you know, when we're taught, you know, I feel like I was taught early on in my career, don't read your slides, don't talk. And I was like, oh, I have to break that habit. Like it's okay to talk about your slides.
So Karen, I have to be in another meeting like
Okay.
from 12 actually. Since you're the host, I'll just leave. It won't
Yep,
get
that
closed,
should.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it should.
I don't want to book because Stacy is also participating in the conversation. So I
Right.
don't want to
Oh,
just, yeah. Okay.
okay. Well, we're overstay, and I thank you again.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
And thanks everybody for coming. Yeah. Oh, didn't
That's
scare anyone away. All right. I guess everybody's filing out. So thanks
Okay.
again.
Okay. Bye, Karen. Bye, Stacy.
Bye.
Bye.